So students sometimes are like, well, which method should I use and how do I know? So we have 4 methods. We have factoring, we have the square root property, and we have completing the square, and finally we have the formula. Now, some students are like, oh, that formula, that'll always work. Well, you can always use the formula, but it is not always the easiest method. There are times when like you could get the answer so much quicker if you just used one of the other methods. So how do you know? Well, factoring, first of all, it has to be set to 0. And then it has to be factorable. So if you can't factor it, then, don't try that method. So I usually use the factoring method first. Like I look at a quadratic equation, I say, can I factor this? And if I can, I just go with that one because I think it's the easiest method. Square root property. You can only have one x in the equation, okay? So like if you have x squared equals something, then I would take the square root of both sides. Or if you had like x plus a, or b, I put b, equals something, then I would take the square root of both sides, okay? Those are really kind of the only 2 situations, or if you could create the situation. Now, a lot of students make a mistake like there'll be x squared plus x equals 7, and they're thinking they can take the square root of both sides. No, you can't, because you have an x squared and you have an x, okay? Now, so just, I don't know, remember that. These are kind of my tips. Okay, completing the square. Here's my rule for completing the square, and I like to use completing the square. I'll just write it this way. First of all, if A equals 1 and B is even, then I would use completing the square. I think it's the easiest method to use. But I'm very picky. Like I want A to be 1 and B to be even. Then I avoid the fractions and the simplification's already there and it goes pretty quick and easy. Okay? So those are my 2 rules if I'm going to use completing the square. If I get a choice. If they tell me which method to use, then I have to go with what they say. And then finally, if those other situations don't happen, then my last resort is to use the formula. I'm not against the formula. It's a great formula. It just sometimes can take a while to simplify things. Okay. Now, in the next video, we're going to talk about the discriminant, and that may help you decide which method to use also. By the way, I'll just talk here. If you're using factoring, you're going to get rational solutions, okay? Rational numbers for the solutions. That's all I'm going to say on that.